I'm Al Hunt.
And I'm John Heilemann. And with all due respect to birthday boy Bill Clinton, we'd send you an e-card, but we're afraid it might get wiped. Happy birthday, Bubba. In our exercise regimen tonight, a Jeb jog, a 5 Kasich, and a Jennifer Palmieri marathon. But first, the Hillary hustle. Last night in North Las Vegas, Secretary Clinton met the press in front of an American flag in a gymnasium. Some of the questions were about her private email server, and the whole thing got a little contentious.
I mean, in retrospect, what was supposed to be convenient has turned out to be anything but convenient. Look, and I take responsibility. I regret that this has become such a cause célèbre. What I did was legally permitted. Number one, first and foremost. Everybody's acting like this is the first time it's ever happened. It happens all the time. What, like with a cloth or something? Well, no. I don't know how it works digitally at all. I know you want to make a point, and I can just repeat what I have said. We turned over everything that was work-related. Personal stuff, we did not. I had no obligation to do so, and did not. Nobody talks to me about it other than you guys.
Wow, nobody talks about it. Okay, cool. By the way, we talked to Clinton's communications director, Jennifer Palmieri, for a long time about it this afternoon, and we'll show you that conversation shortly. But for now, Albert Reinhold Hunt Jr., my question for you is whether Hillary helps or hurts her cause politically with performances like that.
John, if this is an effort to lull people into not thinking that she's a unbeatable front runner so they won't get overconfident she's succeeding, this is awful. I don't know what the ever-savvy Jennifer Palmieri is going to say, but this just doesn't work, whatever she thinks the merits are. I mean, to be sarcastic about I'll wipe it off with a cloth, to say everybody does it, there's 3 big letters here that people, it really captures their attention, FBI, and she's got to face up to that. This was a bad performance.
They have decided that they are going to put her out and that she is going to take questions. But I have to say, Al, I think she's doing her cause way more harm than good if she's going to handle those questions that way. As you said, sarcastic, defensive, evasive, at times condescending. I just think, she's got to be better prepared, and I mean emotionally prepared and psychologically prepared to do better in these environments if she's going to take questions on these things, because this is just setting her back and rousing the press even more than it's already roused. All right, Albert. You are in New Hampshire, and so are a lot of Republican candidates. Today in Londonderry, at an education summit convened by our friend Campbell Brown, a handful of those candidates spoke. Jeb Bush, Bobby Jindal, Carly Fiorina, John Kasich, Scott Walker, and Chris Christie. We noticed a couple of themes that emerged.
If people don't like Common Core, fine. Just make sure your standards are much higher than the ones you had before.
Common Core may have started out as a set of standards, but what it's turned into is a program that honestly is being overly influenced by companies that have something to gain, testing companies and textbook companies.
We're actually in federal court right now suing Arnie Duncan, saying he violated federal law and the 10th Amendment to the Constitution when it comes to Common Core.
It's teachers' unions, a lot of great teachers out there, but a lot of those unions are barriers to sorting out between who are the exceptional teachers and how do you reward them versus maybe the 1 or 2 in each school that are doing a poor job.
So if I were not president, but if I were king in America, I would abolish all teachers' lounges where they sit together and worry about how woe is us.
I have no problem with saying that the teachers' unions deserve a political punch in the face, because they do, because that's what they do to us.
All right, Al, so bashing teachers' unions and either bashing or distancing from Common Core. How effective are those moves, you think, politically for these Republican candidates, and how big an issue do you think education will be in the Republican nomination fight?
Well, bashing unions has never been a problem in Republican primary struggles. You have to be a little bit careful and distinguish between unions and teachers. Jeb Bush and John Kasich did that very well today. I didn't see some of the others. I think punching people in the face may not go over quite as well. But let me tell you what's interesting about education as an issue. People care about it a lot. But John Kasich came out of that, a whole summit on education, and there was a press gaggle. The top 3 questions: immigration, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Yeah. I think right now it's a secondary issue.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, you know, look, there's so much unity about this in the Republican Party that just a few people for whom this could be a vulnerability. Jeb Bush, who now is going around saying, I don't really even know what Common Core is. I'm just for high standards. I'm not sure how well that's going to work for him for those who really hate Common Core. And then there's Kasich, who I think looks, even though you saw him bashing the teachers there a little bit, he looks pretty good, I think, being the one guy who's still out there fighting the cause for Common Core. Maybe not with Republican voters, but gives him a lot of credit for that. All right, it's a big day in New Hampshire. Donald Trump doing a town hall this evening, 20 miles away from Jeb Bush's town hall in the Derry area. Meanwhile, Al, you spent time at a town hall with John Kasich, the aforementioned, who's moving up in Granite State polls. My question for you is whether you think that is because he is actually catching fire with voters up there, Al, or is it just because of all the money they've spent on TV?
The money opened the door. The rise in polls is due to the money, but now he has a chance to present himself, and he does pretty well. At that summit this morning, after he had that line about teachers' lounges, he then went on to say, you know, it's outrageous we pay football coaches $4 million a year and pay teachers peanuts. Now, he didn't offer to cut Urban Meyer's salary, but it was still an interesting line. Did very well at an Elks Club meeting in Salem today. And so I think Kasich has got a lot of potential up here. And I'll tell you something, John, it doesn't happen for an hour, but I'll lay you 7-1 odds Trump outdraws Jeb tonight.
You know what I'm going to say to that, Al, because you're up there and I'm not? I'm going to say, I agree. Okay, coming up, Jennifer Palmieri explaining Hillary Clinton's answers at last night's press conference. Trust me, this is good stuff, so stick around. We'll be right back. Earlier today, we were treated to a visit from Jennifer Palmieri, Hillary Clinton's communications director. Like a lot of reporters in Nevada yesterday, we had a lot of questions about Clinton's private email server. We started by asking how Palmieri thought her boss did at that press avail last night.
Speaking as a communications professional, on the whole, how do you think your boss did last night in this event?
I think she's very sporting. I think that she went there. She stood there and answered all of the questions from the press, answered Ed's many follow-ups. Yeah. We think people have this is a very confusing issue. We think people have questions that she's happy to address. When we get to the point where he's asking you 4 times about wiping the server, which I think is something that most Americans don't understand, including Hillary Clinton, how that would work, right. Then you've got to the point where, you know, I mean, where you've answered all the questions you need to do. I mean, we're particularly in this month want her to cycle through and take as many questions as possible on this subject, and we want to try to clear up as much misunderstandings as possible and move on.
Right. Her tone seemed a little at times dismissive. Occasionally, you know, her body language was not that great.
She was in good humor.
You thought she was in good humor?
Yes, I do. I think she was in good humor. You know, she was laughing at Ed. I think that the, you know, wiping the server with a cloth, I think probably most people found that amusing. Right. And she's sitting there, and or in this case, she's standing there, and she's taking all these questions. And I think that she actually shows good humor about it, and also a little bit of humanity. People always say we need to see authentic Hillary. Right. And so if she gets a little frustrated, then you get to see that too.
So let me ask a couple serious questions about this. Right. The line she seemed to be propagating last night was that if she did propagate was that if she had kept everything on a government server and not had a private email account, we would be going through the same thing.
True.
Clearly, that's not quite right.
Yeah,
in the sense that, well, let me just put it to you this way. It seems that there is one of the things that many people are concerned about, and not just Republican partisans, is the notion that there might be classified material, whether it was classified at the time or classified now. Let's just call it sensitive material, that by being on a private server, a home server that was not secure, that might raise security issues for the United States of America, right? And that's why some people are more concerned about this. That's why it's different than a different conversation, it seems to me, than if she had merely done what every other cabinet secretary did and kept everything on her department server.
Not every other cabinet secretary, first of all. Their cabinet secretaries use personal email addresses and our personal email accounts, as did at least one of her predecessors. But the point she was making is that this was all in an unclassified email system. So if she had had a state.gov account, the same thing would have happened in terms of the possibility of other departments. Again, I think it's really important for people to understand it is not the State Department, her department, that thinks any of this needs to be classified, while it's getting ready to be public, other departments think that. But it's also obviously she takes classified information very seriously. She didn't look at it online. She looked at it in a hard copy. She looked at it in person. And but it's also true that the State Department email system was hacked. Right. By the Russians. Yeah. So it's not as if, and that's a serious concern, and that's, and obviously she would be concerned to make sure her email server was secure, but it's not as if that didn't happen at State.
That would seem to elevate the concern, right? That if the State Department's email could be hacked, then her email could be hacked more easily, no?
Well,
or at least hers.
Not necessarily. It seems like it's more likely that
no one would know in the government, right? We know the State Department's email was hacked for a set of reasons.
I just think it's, in terms, if that's your concern, it is certainly worth noting that State was hacked.
Right. She makes a big point of the fact that these email were not, that she didn't send or receive an email that was not marked classified. Right. That in itself is a different posture than she had taken earlier in the year, where she said she hadn't sent classified email.
That's what
she now talks about markings, as if the markings are important.
Well, that is because think about the word classified.
Right.
Classified means someone's looked at it and made a decision that it needs to be classified in a certain manner. Right. So classified information by definitions means it's marked.
Right.
We talk about, I think it's clearer for people when you say marked, but the word classified, that's what it means. It means that it's marked.
Right. Attorney General Mukasey, former Attorney General Mukasey, wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal the other day where he talked about this issue and pointed out that it is in fact the responsibility of government officials. Nobody sits on your shoulder determining whether something's classified. That if you are a government official, you're responsible for making sure that you're not disseminating classified material or holding it in a non-secure place.
Certainly, you have obligation to make sure that you're not that you're handling all classified material and any kind of information sensitively.
Right. But the rules put the onus on the government official. Right. It's not a question of whether the things are marked or not marked. It seems to me that is what the law says.
And that's because that's the process that it goes through.
And we've seen government officials convicted for handling, including David Petraeus, convicted of crimes for handling classified material that was not marked classified. So it seems to me like that this is an interesting argument she's making, but not actually germane to the case.
No, it is. It is. It's exactly germane to the case because it has to be classified in order for it to be in violation of sending it. It is. I grant you that it is. That the conversation gets pretty academic at some point, even. But in terms of how you handle the information, it's either classified at the time or it's not.
But
also, John, like the State Department said. None of this was classified. Right. And now other departments are deciding for their own reasons, not State Department, for their own equities, they want to classify for something that doesn't have anything to do with state.
Right.
So that is a very different process. And that's why when she says this doesn't have anything to do with me, she means because this is about other departments and their concerns.
Was the Secretary of State aware of the fact that there is material that gets sent that at one time is not considered classified but that can later become classified? She's aware of that process, right, when she was Secretary of State?
But this is, I don't understand your question.
Well, my question is if she was aware of the fact that something could be classified later in time, and it's against...
In which case you don't ever write anything down ever,
Well, it is against the law. It is against the law to have classified material in an unauthorized location. That is the case. So if you know, well, this would be an argument for keeping all of your stuff in an authorized location, to do all of your business on an authorized location, yes. If you knew there was sensitive material that might not be classified today, but could be classified in the future, it would be incumbent on you then not to take any material to an unauthorized location.
That would suggest that you can't speak or ever write.
I don't think it would be suggesting that at all.
It is. That is. This is. You have to be able. People have to be able to. They need to be able to work. They need to be able to communicate. And she had thousands and thousands of emails, and the State Department looked through all of them, and they said none of them.
Well, they didn't look through all of them. They didn't look through the 30,000 some that she decided to delete.
Yes, neither have we seen any of the emails that Governor Bush decided were personal.
We're not discussing Governor Bush. He was not the Secretary of State.
Why?
Jennifer,
But
there's no email that Jeb Bush ever handled that had anything to do with national security.
I think, well, he had National Guard.
Here's a question that was asked yesterday that she wouldn't answer, which was whether or not she wiped the server. Okay, so let's just, it is the case that her lawyer has said the server was wiped, right? So did she or did she not direct someone to do more than delete the emails, but in fact to then either wipe, scrub, go deeper into the system? Did she direct that to happen or not?
No, I think when you're getting to the level of what actually technically happens on a server.
I'm not getting into that.
No.
I'm asking what she directed people to do with her server. Did she delete the email or did she ask more than deletion to happen? When I delete email, I hit delete.
No.
That's all I do. That's what most Americans do when they want to delete an email. So did she ask someone to do more than that or not?
No.
No.
She said
she merely
she had lawyers to look at all the emails and decide what was personal and what was official, and she decided to not retain the personal ones, and they were deleted.
And she asked,
and beyond that, like any technical questions about servers, that's not. That's not the question. That's not the question I'm asking.
You're saying that she did not direct anyone to do more than merely delete the emails.
I'm saying they had them go through it and they deleted the emails.
I'm asking.
I don't understand
the question is. I think for many people is the notion that if I had personal emails about my yoga practice or about my daughter's wedding that I didn't want people to see, if I deleted them, I would hit a delete button.
Right.
I don't know. Her lawyer is now saying that the email's been wiped, and that's what the FBI is going to look at right now when they have the server. So the question is, what did she ask to be done with those emails?
To be deleted, and beyond that, I don't know, and beyond that, I don't understand. I don't know. This is like everyone's an expert on inflating footballs, and now everybody's an expert on wiping servers. Like, I don't know how that all works.
Right.
But I can tell. But she certainly owns the fact that she made a decision to have them look at it and say, here's what we should keep, and here's what is personal. I mean, here's what we should turn over to the State Department, and this is what is personal and what I don't think I want to keep. And she owns that. And then beyond how
I do. Trust me, Jennifer. I totally understand that you don't know the details of how servers are scrubbed, and I don't know the details of how servers are scrubbed. But there is a difference. If I maintain a personal server, there's a difference between me saying, let's delete these emails, and me saying to ordering a computer professional to say, please make sure there's no trace of these emails left on this server. There's a difference between those two things.
And why is that? So I don't know. I mean, all I know is we said she didn't keep them. I mean, delete them. Beyond how that impacted the server, I don't.
Right. So you don't actually know what she directed be done with these emails. You don't know what specific direction she gave.
I know that she said, look through my emails and see what should go to the State Department and what's personal, and she decided that she didn't want to keep the ones that were personal. Right. That's what we know. And then beyond, but here's the thing: the the Department of Justice now has a server, so they can see if there's any. I mean, their concern.
Yes.
Is there anything on there, any of her emails on there, because there's sensitive information. They want to make sure it's secure. That's their concern. So now they have it, and they're able to see.
Well, or not. Or if the thing has been thoroughly scrubbed, they may not be able to see anything.
Well, then I think that's the outcome they want.
And then in which case,
that's the outcome they want, because their concern is whether or not the information is secure.
In which case, no, but they will not know. They will not know that at all. All they know is that she may or may not have deleted emails that had to do with government business.
That's not what their concern is.
That is what a lot of people are concerned with.
But that's not what the Department of Justice is concerned. They're concerned, it's a security inquiry. They're concerned to make sure that the information is secure. We, if they find the server has been thoroughly scrubbed, they will have no idea whether there were ever classified emails on that server. But that's not what they're looking for, John. This is security inquiry. They want to make sure that if her emails, her lawyer had it on a thumb drive, they wanted the thumb drive because they didn't want that. They wanted to have that secure. It was locked up in a safe by the State Department. They want it secure, and that is why they want the server. They wanted the server so they could look at it to see if there's any emails on it, because they want to make sure that information is secure.
But wait, there's more. The rest of our conversation with Jennifer Palmieri after this. And now, the exciting conclusion of the short film Bloomberg Politics interviews Jennifer Palmieri.
Let me ask you a question about Platte River Systems, which is the company that she...
I'm probably not going to be able to...
Well, I'm going to ask the question anyway. There was a story yesterday in the Daily Mail about this company and it being run out of an apartment in Denver and having its server in a bathroom. I'm curious as to what you know about how they came to be retained by Mrs. Clinton. You have no idea?
No, I don't.
I have no idea how they were chosen, whether they were vetted, whether she had any idea about who the company was, what...
No.
You just don't know about that.
I don't.
You know nothing about it. Okay. You guys have made the point, and she made the point. She made the point at the fair, and she made the point subsequently. The notion that no one is paying attention to this, but elites, basically. That no one asks about it. No, she never hears about it.
She didn't say that. She said that nobody asked her about it. It's true. No one does.
She says no one asked her about it. But is it your belief that, or her belief, either one, that actual voters don't care about this at all?
No, we think that we do think people have questions, and that's part of the reason why we're going through a relatively aggressive education process, and her talking to voters through the press and answering all those questions. It's I think people, obviously, they see a lot of coverage of it. It's very confusing. We want to demystify it for people, and also have them see her answering questions from the press. Although it sort of can devolve into more complicated minutia. But it's just true that people don't raise it with her.
Right.
Which I think, it's not, I think that maybe, I know you've speculated that people might not be comfortable raising it with her, but they talk to her about other issues, right? They talk about issues that affect them.
Let me ask you one question before we end, just to go back to a big question I think a lot of people, normal people have, right? And a lot of reporters have it too.
Because some reporters are normal people.
Yeah, some reporters, some. Why? This is still the core issue, I think, for a lot of people. Why? I think most people do not take seriously the notion that convenience was the reason that she did this. And most people think that this was a pretty unprecedented, unusual thing for Secretary of State to do.
It's not unprecedented.
To have a home-brewed server in their house, it is. Jennifer, there's no one. There have been past Secretaries of State who have used personal email addresses.
Like it was.
She had a server in her house.
Yeah.
She had a server in her house.
Because her husband was a former president, and
again, nonetheless, it's still unprecedented. So why?
I think that I've encountered this a lot in politics, where people think that the answer is a lot more complicated than it really is. And she's answered this many times, and she had, she did have her own email account. Others had done it before, and it was just more convenient, and she kept it like that. And she didn't really think that's the thing. She didn't really think it through, and she has said, had she would have done it differently, because obviously it has, turned into a big distraction, and it's caused a great deal of consternation, and she she would do it differently. She regrets that happened.
I know you enjoy answering these kind of questions. I want to ask on a scale of 1 to 10 right now, how much fun are you having in your job?
8.
8. Wow, fantastic. High degree of job satisfaction. All right, Jennifer Palmieri, thank you for going through this with me today.
It was a pleasure, John.
Our sincere thanks to Jennifer Palmieri. When we come back, Sir Charles Barkley. Breaking news! Major props to my boy D's Nuts, who, according to an actual poll in North Carolina, has the support of 9% in a general election matchup that also includes Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. The dream is alive. Also, Sir Charles Barkley says he likes John Kasich. So, Kasich, nuts, 2016. My thanks to Al Hunt in New Hampshire. Until we see him up there again tomorrow, sayonara.